Hi there, thanks for checking out our channel. This is going to be kind of a, I've already repaired this unit, but I wanted to, because it takes a little time to do and I didn't want to go through the whole mess of that and everything, so I've already repaired the unit, but I want to go through some of the, what was wrong with it and what it's doing now, what it was doing before and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, this is going to be a kind of testing video and overview of this unit. This is a Stafix X12i. This is their 12 output joule, probably storage, probably close to 18 stored, I would say. It's the one that can use the Stafix or Speedrite remote control fault finder deal with it for turning the energizer into standby. But I'll flip it over here. This is the inside of it with most of the guts pulled out of it. But as you can see, a lot of the board area is really overheated and stressed out looking. Usually it all looks like this, so you can see all the parts in it, and as you can tell, it's pretty messed up looking. And even over here where the what does that do? That's for like your earth reference voltages, your remote control, all this stuff kind of ties into this, and it goes up to this jumper cable deal here, and feeds up to here eventually and goes over to the little display board that sits up here to display what your unit's doing. So that's what this thing does. But yeah, you can see how it's just all clouded over and all burnt up and everything basically. But that's the downside to this Stafix and Speedrite stuff in my eyes, is they use a lot of little parts. They use some bigger components, but a lot of this stuff is really small surface mount stuff, and it just over time gets hot and overheats, stressed out, and goes bad. Usually it's not lightning related, it's just longevity wise, these things will last you a little while, but they don't hold up as well as some other brands do when it comes to these bigger units. So now I'll show you what we had to do to it. This is what it was doing. It was coming on and clicking, but it wasn't putting out real good. It wasn't pulsing real well. And I was like, well, maybe capacitor's weak, transformer could be bad. I didn't know. So we pulled it apart, and after I saw this, I'm like, I bet that module board's bad. And the bad thing is when you go to replace, or when we work on these, when you have to replace a board because the board's bad, you basically get this here, this whole case. All the boards are embedded with this jelly looking crap that's kind of protects the board from moisture, because these things are 110 or 12 volt operated units, so sometimes people will put these outside. So this is to try to protect the circuitry, which is a good thing, but then when you got to replace a board, you have to replace this whole piece and everything, and it's just kind of expensive job to do. They could just get this board. That might be a lot cheaper, but they're embedded and glued in basically into this case, so you can't touch nothing. So they're the only brand I know of that does that. Speedrite, Stafix, and then on their current lineup, and then the Patriot's the same way. But Patriots you can't even fix. They don't even offer parts for them things. But so what we did was basically, Speedrite and Stafix are the same exact units internally, just a different colored case. So here's the two capacitors that plugged into it. Here's a transformer that plugs into it. Those came out of the old unit, and then we had to replace all these bolts here for it. The capacitors both read good. They don't go bad that often, and plus they're fully sealed, so that's why you don't really have to worry about water damage, because the capacitors are fully sealed. Transformers are fully sealed, so you don't have to worry about water for those. That's why they cake these boards in that jelly stuff. As you can see, that's what the board usually looks like. But over time, things get hot, stressed out, and all these little bitty surface mount computer chip, things, and it's a lot cheaper for the manufacturer to make them like that, because they can use a machine or a robot to put all this stuff together. I'm sure that these things and this big capacitor, maybe that thing, get put on by hand. All these little things get put on by a machine. I don't know if these people solder these in, or they go through a wave solder machine, or what. But if they use bigger parts, probably this stuff wouldn't go bad as often, but it does go bad from time to time. But that's what the inside looks like. The only thing I don't have for it, which I'm going to go check real quick. No, I thought I might have one. I don't have one on hand. Customer, this is ran by a 12 volt adapter box, plugs into your wall, takes 110, turns it into 12, 13 volts. And they didn't send that with it, so I'm going to have to hook up a power supply up to these terminals right down here, these two metal ones right there. I just have to figure out which is my positive, which is my negative. So what I'll do is I'm going to plug on these two wires. I used this wire earlier on something else. I was like, this is going to work just great for powering this thing up. I think this is positive negative. I don't remember which way it goes, but the thing I gotta do is cut off that, strip that back, and I can hook up my power supply to this. The only thing is, it's gonna be hard to do this and everything with the way that it sits. Let's see what we can do. I've already got turned on. There's a magnetic. This front piece that goes across the front cover, that's your switch. It's a magnetic pickup inside here. It's not an actual physical contact to the board. It has a little magnetic pickup here, and then it talks to some points on the board. It tells it, to conduct, input power, and do the different functions that it does. So I'm going to slip this back on the front here. Hold it there, and I'm just have to power it up like this, and then we'll test it on the inside here, because I don't have, once I put the back cover back on, I really can't touch, get onto these plugs inside here once the back cover's back on there, because it's all encased in plastic, and you can't, these connectors down here on the wires are too thick to go through that casing. So I'm going to, hopefully I got this polarity right. If not, I'll just reverse these black and red wires. I'll know pretty quick if it's right or not. My power supply should have a drag on it. Give it a second. Make sure I got turned on. Okay, my positive negative deal is wrong, so I'm just going to reverse my power supply leads and crank it back on. And I can see it come on there on the board. So now it's working again. So now what I want to do is I'm going to hook up this power supply here, or my fence tester. I'll turn off for a second. Someone's calling me. I gotta remember which one's my ground and which one's my hot. Full power, half power, earth return, ground voltage reference, or whatever, and ground. So I'm gonna go across here. Yeah, this is my full power, half power, earth reference, and ground. So I'm going to go across here and here. And this maybe not, this may cause this meter, this little electromechanical meter, to arc inside. So it may work good, all of a sudden arcs, and then the voltage won't go up high because it's arcing inside. But we'll see what this thing does. So there it goes. We're getting a little over 9,000 volts, about 9,500 volts it says, which is right about where it should be. So at 9,500 volts at the terminals. Now I'm going to stick a load on it. I'm going to first put a 500 ohm load. This is just a standard load a lot of manufacturers use for manufacturing and testing and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to put it across the ground and the hot, and it should drag it down some. It went from 9,500 down to 8,000, so it lost about 1,500 volts, which didn't really cause much issue with it at all. So now I'm going to do 150 ohm load, which is even heavier, because the closer you get to 0 ohms between fence and ground. That's 0 ohms dead short. So the closer you get to 0 ohms, the worse of a short is. So I'm going to put 150 ohm load across the fence and ground, and watch it. Probably, if it went down to from 9500 to 8, I'll say it's probably going to fall down to between 5 and 6, I'm guessing. $6,000. So as you can see, it shoots a nice big spark, pretty healthy spark. So for the heck of it, I want to see what a dead short does when it comes to getting a spark out of it. So I'm going to go across the ground, make sure I'm far enough away, don't get arced and hit by it. So there it goes. So pretty decent unit. I mean, it's not the biggest one out there, but it's right in the middle of the road power wise, so it does a good job for what it's designed to do. Stafix Speedrite they make okay units. I wish they didn't use so much small little dinky parts on their boards, but they do that for manufacturing wise. It's a lot easier to have a robot or a machine put a bunch of stuff together in about 10-15 seconds or a minute at most, I would guess. I don't know how long it takes for them to zip all them little parts on the board. But it doesn't take no time at all for a machine to do that, where if they use a bunch of big parts everywhere, you got to put it in by machine or put it in by hand, have a wave solder machine, let the board swim through a pool of solder and do it that way, or they might be soldered in by hand. So then you got to have an actual physical person do it, and then take a little longer probably, and there could be a mishap with the person that's doing it and not do it quite right or something like that. So that's why they use machines for a lot of this little things like this. But they might be able to make the unit run a lot longer if they didn't use so much of that stuff. But they ain't changing anytime soon, so this is what you get. So the one thing I do like, just as another brand, if you're curious after you've seen all this stuff that they do on the inside, if you're looking at a brand that doesn't use as much of that surface mount stuff, look at a Gallagher model. The inside of even their current lineup don't use near what they use on surface mount. They do use surface mount. I mean, all brands basically do nowadays. I mean, there are a few that maybe not use as much as these guys do. But Gallagher makes a really good unit. They don't use near the surface mount stuff that this company does. So that's a good alternative. But the only thing is using a remote control for something like this, you buy a Gallagher unit, and then you can't use the remote no more. You can use it for fault finding and voltage checking, but you won't be able to use the remote to turn it off. So that's the only downside of buying another brand. If you're using a remote control, that's you won't be able to use it anymore. So, but anyways, I'm gonna put this thing back together. I just want to show you guys what it looked like on the inside. If you got one of these Speedrites or Stafix 12 joule units, what's the X12, X12i, or a Speedrite 12,000 or 12,000i is the Speedrite equivalent. We'd be happy to take a look at it for you. These are, not a bad unit, but they are what they are. They're one of the better quality ones when it comes to it, but there's some better ones out there in my book when it comes to longevity and reliability, but they do throw a huge spark, as you can see. So, if you need help on repairing one, or not repairing one, but if you need help getting one repaired, we'd be happy to look at it for you. We give you a free quote, 18-month warranty on it. Transformer and capacitors hardly ever go bad, so once you put this circuit board stuff in there, you probably get 10 years out of the thing. I don't know how old this one was. 2012, so when this unit was, the old board stuff was made. So it was 8 years, 7 years or so, depending on when the guy bought. So we got 7 years out before it finally started messing up. So not real long time, I guess. And it's 7 years is 7 years, but there's some brands and units, they'll go in standard usage, standard situation, excluding lightning damage, they'll go for years. I mean, there's some Gallagher units that'll go decades without much trouble. Even the new ones have been around for a few years. They'll go 8, 9, 10 years without much trouble at all. They use just a different style of parts and more bulky, bigger, heavier duty parts. So, you know, they're a bit better built product internally. So, but send us your unit. They said free estimates, 18-month warranty, all brands under the sun. No matter how old or how new, we'll work on anything. So until we do another video of how one works or one that's been worked on and some of the features of one, we will see you guys later.